Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 15th, 2022 meeting of the CB11's Executive Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott, and I'm the vice chair of this committee. We are joined by our chair, Xavier, who is, dealing with some things in the background. So he just taken over for tonight. So this meeting is called to order at 6:33 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Angel Muscane, the staff liaison to our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. 1, no one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may use the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. The chat function should not be used for any CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. I see no hands. All right, we will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, you can unmute yourselves and answer present when your name is called.
Jose Altamirano. Stephanie Arroyo is excused. Adem Briha. Jessica Elliott.
Present.
David Giordano. John Green.
Here.
Marissa Mack. Elsa Orama.
Present.
Xavier Santiago.
Present.
Isaac Scott.
Present.
Jason Villanueva. And Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
Present.
You have quorum.
Thank you, Angel. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We had minutes from the last meeting, right, Angel?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I will.
We did actually. I emailed them a while ago, right after the last one in November. No, we didn't have minutes because we didn't have a November meeting. We had the October one that was sent, so those would need to be adopted.
Thank you. All right, the minutes from our last meeting in October were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the meeting minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the last executive committee meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB11 website. The meeting minutes of tonight will be taken by myself. All right, we'll go to our announcements. Please raise your hand if you have an announcement. One quick announcement that I personally have is that I spoke with Xavier and we've been talking for a few months now about the parks tours, and I think we've all decided in the parks committee that it requires a little bit of time outside of the committee to help get that moving. So we're looking at setting up a working group for that. That would include Malik, myself, Connie, David, and Michelle. So if there are no objections, we'll move forward with that working group. I see Angel.
Sure. Just sharing a notification we got from the Borough President's office earlier today that community board member applications portal is now open, and they'll be accepting applications through close of business on March 17th. So applications for new members as well as members that need to renew. their membership. That's it.
Thank you so much, Angel. And please share that wide with your neighbors. It would be great to get a robust submissions for that. Isaac?
I actually just had a question about that to Angel. I always forget what year I have to renew. You'll let me know what year I have to renew, or do I have to find that out?
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah, I'll dig and see what I have from last year. But yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah,
Thanks. I'm sorry about that.
of course.
Okay, great. And we have one announcement from Xavier that the last night market is this Saturday. So please show up. I haven't been yet, unfortunately. I've been sick with COVID, but hopefully I'm better for this weekend so I can go. But looking forward to seeing you all there. If there are no other announcements, we will move on to our informational updates. And do we have any informational updates? Please raise your hand. Seeing none. We'll move on to our presentations and discussions. Okay. So this first point, tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Tuesday, we will be having our full board meeting. And we're looking to make it quick as usual, but obviously have robust discussion. And I think the reason why, outside of the holiday season that we're trying to make it quick is ideally we would like to meet up after full board if everyone is interested. I think Xavier is working on reaching out to East Harlem Bottling Company and Perch, so we can see if people are interested in getting together in person after the meeting, that might be an option. In order to do that, and just in general for all full board meetings to help them run as smoothly as possible, we just ask that each chair for their committee in their updates to the full board really focus on the highlight reel of your meeting minutes. We shouldn't really be reading, word for word the meeting minutes. If there's no really, big updates, we can just leave it at, the meeting minutes are there for reference. But it would also be good if, if there's not necessarily anything to vote on or any big topics, to let everyone know what the big topics might be at your upcoming meetings. If you have those finalized, so that people can be aware of that and show up to your meetings as they like. So, I think just in general, like brevity, less pontificating, as much as we can do. If someone already asked your question, then just go ahead and lower your hand. We don't need to be repeating things that have been said over and over again. I think, we're all here for this, whatever reasons. And, I think we all have different things to contribute, and that's more than welcome, obviously. So if you have something to contribute, please feel free, but as much as we can to limit the sort of reiteration of what people have already said, that would be great. Any questions or comments on that one? Xavier?
Hey, real quick, I'm just at, hi everyone, happy holidays. I didn't get into the family calendar. I sent an email to everyone, but it's the Christmas pageant, the first one back since COVID, and it's little George's first. And he was like, "Daddy, you're coming, right?" And I'm like, well, thank God we still have the emergency order extended. Yeah, so just again, as Jess said, we're doing a really good job. We can get better, and also too, I think it helps prime people to read the minutes. And something I've learned through being on UMass, for example, all the bulk of the work is done in committee. Everyone shows up and they read their minutes. The chair of each committee will then give just a quick summary and say, are there any questions with anything that was in the minutes that I may not have discussed? And 90% of the time, people don't have questions at that point. And it also makes things, it reserves more time for efficient conversation about the action items. And I think that's where the bulk of our time should be spent. And that's where a lot of the other boards should be spending their time, because we do all our heavy lift in the committees. So, and you guys are doing a great job. So that's just something that we could
strive to do better in the next couple quarters. I think everyone will appreciate it. I know, yeah, I love all the work you're doing, and I'm just beyond proud. And it's just the way we can keep improving with one another. So that's it. So thank you.
Thank you, Xavier. Oh, thank you for meeting whoever that was. All right. If there are no other questions, we'll move forward with that direction and talk about our second item here. I don't see Marissa in the attendees today. But as far as I understand, the Africa Center came to present at EcoDev this month, and the committee was given a draft letter of support from the Africa Center, which I can flash on the screen if that would be helpful. And the committee voted to approve that draft letter as is. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I don't know, Angel, if you'd like to share that draft letter, I can share it.
Go ahead if you have it.
Okay.
If you have it at hand, please.
How do I do this? Okay, sorry, I searched for Africa Center, so every instance of Africa and Center are highlighted here. So, all right, I'm just gonna read it really quick. So, to whom it may concern, I'm writing to express Community Board 11's support for the Africa Center and their endeavor to raise needed funding to build out their entire building. Our community has been excited about the prospect of the entire center opening and have witnessed the many challenges that the center has faced. However, since January 2019, the center has made a concerted effort to slowly build out the space over time and provide a range of community programs, some of which have been free and or included community discounts and inside their 2 spaces and on the plaza surrounding the building. This includes over 200 programs, 8 exhibitions, and reaching over 200,000 people with their in-person, online, and plaza programming. Since 2019, the Africa Center has been thoughtful and responsive in its approach to engaging CB11 and the wider East Harlem community. They have made a concerted effort to build strong relation with CB11 and our Economic Development Committee in particular. Whether it is ensuring that we are aware of their strategic focus, future plans, programs, and exhibitions, and job openings. Oh, that's the end of the sentence. They also have strong relationships and partnerships with other cultural institutions and organizations in East Harlem, including the Museum of the City of New York, El Museo del Barrio, and Harlem Needle Arts. In just under 4 years, the organization has established itself in our community. My colleagues and I have spent time at the Africa Center, seen several of their exhibitions, participate in their programs, and it's clear that they are providing a needed space for people of African descent in New York City. Their perspective on what it means to be a person of African descent is expansive and needed in these divisive times. In order for the Africa Center to realize its ambitious mission, it needs resources to build out its entire building. This will be an opportunity for the center to enhance economic opportunities in East Harlem via job creation and providing a needed community space for both people of African descent in East Harlem and people interested in learning more about people of African descent around the world. Does anyone have any comments or would like to approve the committee's recommendation? Isaac?
I wanted to make a motion if no one had questions.
Okay. Michelle, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. I would like to follow Isaac Scott with seconding his motion.
Perfect. All right. Call the roll.
Jose Altamirano,
Yes.
Adem Briha, Jessica Elliott,
Yes.
David Giordano,
Yes.
John Green,
Aye.
Marissa Mack is not here. Nelson Rama, Xavier Santiago,
Yes.
Isaac Scott,
Yes.
Jason Villanueva,
Yes.
Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Angel.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone. I'm pretty sure that's it on our agenda. Is there any new business? Or is there any old business? Oh, Is this real?
Ignore that. It's an old slide. Sorry.
Okay, I'm like, oh, wasn't expecting that. Michelle, I see your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, I'm sorry that you have COVID. I'm glad that you're starting to feel better. I was feeling off a little bit, but I was so happy when I did feel well to go and see the tree and to have so many people show up. It was definitely a highlight of the season. So I just want to say thank you. We don't really get to see each other in person, but when we do, it's fun.
Thank you, Michelle.
Jessica, I'm driving, so I can't raise my hand.
Go
But
ahead.
were we going to talk about the 35 bus, or I thought
No.
I saw?
Yeah,
okay,
that's, go ahead, Angel.
Yeah, Jose, like we mentioned it earlier. I meant to mention it earlier. I'm sorry. It got removed. We thought there was going to be a deadline for that, but we're going to hold off until your committee votes on it next month.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Jason, I saw your hand up. Do you still have a question?
No, sorry.
Okay, no problem. All right, I think I'm just gonna give it one last call. Any new business or old business? Please raise your hand.
So just out of curiosity, this David, I'm driving as well. Do we want to discuss last night?
We could,
That was where I kind of was raising my hand. I mean, it's up to you guys. Honestly, it wasn't a part of the agenda. I believe it was going to be, but
we have more than enough time if we'd like to relive that.
I think it's fair enough to say, just to give a quick summary to the executive committee. And forgive me with my camera. I'm like in a difficult position, but I am here. The long and the short of it, ECF and Avalon Bay came back to speak about the mega project that we're all familiar with, the 68-story building with the 3 schools. And they pretty much presented, and it was expressing to us their challenges as it relates to the development and why it's taking so long, and how it's going to continue to take longer. A lot of it, their general expression was that it was due to inflation that raised the project's cost by approximately over $200 million, and therefore created hardship on the original development. The committee was hard pressed to express the pre-existing concerns that the district had, as well as the existing concerns with whether or not they were going to fulfill their commitment. Back in May of this year, when they originally presented, some of the biggest highlight and red flag for us was the discussion that the project wasn't going to be able to produce the 2 schools. That being said, that seemed to have been, the general consensus of the board at that present time, as the concern for, the ULIP that they were seeking, whereas they were trying to have the building at an enormous higher. It's a high-rise building. They originally proposed 68 stories. The BP brought it down to 63 stories. And I'm going to stay in line with what Jessica was explaining. I'm not going to rehash the meeting fully, but I would like executive to be aware of it, all the chairs of every committee to be aware of it. It's a multifaceted issue, and sense of we need to all be, for lack of a better word, on point of what's going on with that project. So we held her to the original commitments, which they're saying they're trying to fulfill. They're looking for other sources of funding to produce the schools. And like I said, at the end of the day, I would really encourage all of you to check the previous meeting that we had yesterday. And if David or Jessica or Angel, you would like to share anything further, I'll switch off. So then that way we could further discuss and strategically plan on how we prepare to respond and be present for this land use.
Great. David or Angel, did you have anything to add?
Not on this, no. Jason.
Sorry, Angel.
Go ahead, David.
I would just add that they never made it to youth and education. And that was due to, like I said, weather. I would invite them back so that they complete the circle and that we make sure that they keep the commitment to the children of these homes that they initially made. I was worried, I guess, when they talked about whether they put the 2 schools in there or not or relocate them, that they still were going to build the school buildings anyway. And then my red flags went up and said, well, charter school. Now, she did clarify that she does not build charter schools, but that doesn't mean DOE. Remember, charter schools are public DOE schools. So, we can play with semantics that we don't build charter schools, but we can still put a charter school in that building. And that would be my concern, that it would not go to who was intended, and that they have an obligation to commit and keep their commitment they made to this community, because we kept our commitment by voting to the zoning.
Great. Oh, sorry, David, I'm not sure. I can't hear anymore.
Does anybody have any questions?
Go ahead, Michelle.
Hello, hi, this is Nilsa, sorry.
No problem. Nilsa, go
I'm
ahead, and
on
then
the
we'll go to
phone.
Michelle.
Am I okay to talk?
Yes, please.
Oh, hi. Well, I was thinking about this yesterday. If the schools are added back into the project and SBA pays for the schools, and the project goes on as originally envisioned, what exactly is the developer giving the community if SBA has absorbed the cost that the developer was originally through the private-public partnership with ECF cover? I'm just a little bit, I'm wondering if we can think about this now, obviously, but if the cost has been passed over, but the developer still gets all the concessions, we're basically getting the schools because SBA, and we're pushing for them to be included as originally intended. But other than that, other than building the schools, the developer has shifted the cost to the public, to tax dollars, as opposed to what was originally envisioned. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know that we've mentioned it in different forums, but I'm wondering if in this case the developer could give some kind of support to those schools. Obviously, they're not going to give millions, but give some kind of support to the schools based on the fact that the large ticket item had been passed on to SBA. So that's all I wanted to say. I have other things to say, but I'm walking and it's in the rain and I don't want to hold anybody up. So I'll bring this other stuff up at another time. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilsa.
Thank you, Nilsa. Jessica, may I respond to that?
Yeah, please.
I think the big ticket for us is to follow through on the commitments that were made yesterday evening. One in particular was to the financials. I do have the same concern that Nilsa's expressing, whereas, they told us the project was at a 200.
Odette, can you please mute yourself?
Where the project is now suffering a $200 million deficit because of inflation. And, the way that it was presented, basically, this reprieve from the ECF and going to the SCA would only cover 50% of the bill, where the other 100 million is pretty much still at risk for the developer. So we definitely need to follow through in ensuring that they provide the data points that we requested. And I am confident at the least to say that we could be able to digest that a little further when they present the financials, both on the expense and more importantly, on the runs loss, so we can make the determination that it's not a complete shift in profit.
Let me ask you smart people something with this. So in essence, they made a few less apartments, right? But they made the footprint of the apartments bigger. That means they can sell the private for more money than they could previously, right? And with the prices now, see, this is why I'm a little worried at myself about like what Nils is saying. Because even the prices now that they're going to charge are not the prices they were going to charge 3-4 years ago. And we all know what the prices are in Manhattan right now. So you're right. They're going to make a killing. And what are they really giving back? And then on the flip side, where do we care where they get the funding from? Because you know what? The reality is we know School Construction Authority ain't going to up that money that quick. This may be the only way to get them to up that money where they may never up that money. Because, like, again, going back to School Construction Authority, I think, Angel, you did so good, is like, yo, there's no trust there because they don't follow through what they say they're going to. Even every year, we go through this whole process with them with the CEC and what are the projects. And it seems like a lot of the projects that they decided the priorities are different than what the community says. And I'm not saying they don't know better, but again, it's a trust issue. I think we need to stay on it.
Thank you, David. I'm gonna go to Angel and then Jason, you can wrap this one up.
When Dave started talking, it made me think of this Fat Joe quote of yesterday's price is not today's price. That's why I'm giggling. I'm sorry. I wanted to encourage the other members, like, on the committee and, any other attendees and I put a link in the chat to the page that we have for this project on our website. It's a project that was subject to a ULURP that was passed in 2017. So it's been quite a while. I know a couple of members that are on this committee maybe weren't on the board yet, and a couple of members that were on the board at the time, maybe it's in the back of their memories. I would encourage you to, when you have a free, bit of time, to go back and review the descriptions and the materials and the approvals related to this project. It's a massive project. It's 63, it was approved at 63 stories. It's nearly 1,000 units, residential units, and incredibly, an incredible amount of commercial floor area, new school buildings for 3 high schools, and a renovated public, well, for us, park, but a playground, Marx Brothers Playground, will be completely renovated. So it's a massive project that will have impact, once it's completed, significant impact on the community. So I strongly encourage you to go back and read it. All that housing, like we discussed back in 2017, will have an impact on the surrounding community. There's just no two ways about it. It's a lot of units. It's a lot of market rate units. Anyway, a lot of foot traffic going to be generated by this project. I could not encourage you strongly enough to go back and look at this thing. And, unfortunately, it's been a while, so it's kind of hard to keep on top of things from, a while ago, but it's kind of what it is what the case is here, similar to the case with the East Ohio 25th Street development project, which has an even longer gestation period, but, still will have a massive impact on the community for better or worse.
Thank you, Angel. John and then Jason.
Thank you. Isn't that the project that was supposed to be at the corner of 92nd Street and 2nd Avenue?
96th and 2nd.
96th and 2nd, yeah. Okay, I thought so. I thought I remembered it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Jason?
Yeah, so just in summary, just echoing with all the sentiments that were expressed and by all the members and staff. I personally want to thank Angel and George James for being able to edify me expeditiously and being able to grapple to understand this project. So that's why I encourage all of you, young, newer, and old on the board, to reach out, So that way we could probably even provide you the short snippet briefing and coach you through. But it affects every facet of the board and the 90,000+ constituents that we have in our district. Public safety and transportation is going to be affected. We're going to have to be interested in what's going on over there. Housing, there were a lot of questions relevant to housing. And that tag again, going to, I guess, to answer David's earlier inquiry, them going from that 68 stories to that 63 stories starts affecting floor area and space. And these are the things that they have to come back to us and continue the discussion on their intentions of what they're going to do to redevelop, and more importantly, ensure the community's trust through transparency. And I promise you all, as my commitment as chair, to continue to keep this as a rolling action item that will be a discussion on land uses agenda every month for the for the coming months. So I welcome you all to attend or any of the CBOs that see these recordings. Thank you.
Jessica, I just want to add one thing and I'll shut up. And I just want to remember this from my experience. Developers, when they talk about they waited these few years and this is what they do. They wait out. They wait. They hold projects up until they got it ready. So you know what? This is part of what they should have been already anticipating increases. And they'll wait us out longer than we'll wait them out. So just remember, that's some bullshit. They're there and they'll wait as long as they can to get what they want. And what they're trying to do is short us. It's the bait and switch, as somebody said earlier.
Thank you, David.
Angel got to say something, Angel.
All right, I don't want to go down a road where we're gonna be going on forever, but Beverly and then Angel, if you want to say anything else.
Yes, thank you, Jessica, for letting me speak. I'm on the land use committee, and I was at the meetings, and I do remember attending the meetings when they first discussed this project. We really, like Jason said, need to make sure that they stay to what they promised us. But my question to you is, if they can't give that, is it any way that if we're not getting what we were promised and negotiated to get, can we go back of not giving them this ULUP project? I mean, is that ever a possibility? Because as David said, developers does this on a regular basis. I've seen it happen many times within this community and other communities. So what recourse do we have that if we don't get what we negotiate for, that then we start from scratch? Is there any possibility of that ever happening, or do we have that option at any time?
My simple answer at the moment, honestly, Beverly, would be that this is a continued conversation that we'll definitely have at the committee. There are options that we have as an advisory committee to notify our elected officials and protest and express our concerns about the project. And I believe that's what we have been doing the last few months, and particularly some evidence of that is because of the the presentation that was able to transpire yesterday evening. So the mute point, it's a work in progress on the different strategies that we're going to utilize to ensure that the developer holds true to their commitment. This isn't an all on us, one. That's why the for lack of a better word, the outcry is to this entire executive body to start putting their minds together and strategizing on expressing the concerns that are evident that are being brought forth to us by our constituents and our members.
Yes. Thank you so very much for the explanation.
Anything else, Angel?
So just I have something quick on that, but what I wanted to say was on something else. I'm not sure that once a ULURP is approved, what recourse we have. But just because I'm not sure doesn't mean that there's no recourse. I think we'll have to look into that to see how binding those commitments are, and, if there's, some leverage there to, to extract something back from the developer if they don't produce the project. The one complication is that, and maybe it's only complicated because I personally don't understand, but the applicant on the ULURP was not the developer in this case. The applicant in this case was the Educational Construction Fund, which is a creation of the government, right? It's not Avalon Bay themselves. That doesn't leave ECF off the hook, but there's a question that we need an answer to as to like what, if any, recourse we have. I don't know that yet, but I will endeavor to find out.
So Angel, is the reason that SCF was the funder was because that was a school property originally? And
Yeah.
it was a school?
Yes. Yeah, like ECF's whole, like, I don't want to attempt French, reason for being is it's what they do is they create these public-private partnerships to leverage like school properties for redevelopment, as for private redevelopment in order to finance a new school facility. That's their whole. That's their whole MO. So the developer's on the hook, but the developer gets to develop, where prior to that they did not have an ability to develop on that property.
All right, Jason, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Chair. And to the light of exactly what Angel just said, my thought, my question, and pretty much more of my ask is to all of us is to understand ECF is an administrative agency, and if anyone can start looking into their networks to figure out who we could communicate with on the DOE end, that I would presume is their counterpart, or for lack of a better word, their subsidiary to the DOE. There would be some sense of a subsidiary to the DOE. So it would be just interesting to see that again. Originally, that plot of land is owned by the Department of Education. So that I think that would be an initial step that we could start looking forward towards for the new year.
So Jay, I reached out to the superintendent to make her aware of it, and also spoke with Nancy. Now that's me.
I think that might be, is that Nelson's number?
I don't think it's me because I'm
It's a
off at the
phone.
moment.
Could we mute them? Thank you. Go ahead, David.
So I reached out to the superintendent and sent her the email of the information that you sent out, Jay, about the report, and said, talk. She reached back to me and said, let's talk about it, reach out. We have a meeting with her tomorrow, so I was going to raise it. Although, again, she's not necessarily the superintendent of the actual schools, because there is a high school superintendent. So, again, I just, when we had the meeting the other night on Monday, I think it was the afternoon, I reached out to the superintendent and Nancy. I spoke with Nancy directly, and Nancy was concerned too, because again, it's one of those things that, oh yeah, that thing, is it happening? And, I explained what was going on. And, again, I'll give an update based on what I had with the conversation with the superintendent, and maybe also connect you as well, Jay.
Thank you, David.
Great. Well, we will continue these conversations in the land use, landmarks, and planning committee meetings. So please, if you're interested in these topics or overlapping, like the youth and education committee and people in my committee, please do attend those meetings so we can continue to move these processes forward together. All right. I believe that is all of our new and old business. No, Angel?
Not new business, not trying to open a can of worms. Just to clue in the group on the question of cannabis dispensaries, Adem, who chairs our licenses and permits committee, and I and Marlene are working up like the procedures for the board's review of dispensary licenses. The process will mirror the process as we understand it from the state will mirror the liquor license application process. And so will our process will be very similar, but we're currently working on that. Just to clue you in that, someone's looking at it, and it's us. And we'll update you guys when we have something more final.
Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Usually I'm the one that wants to leave. And I do want to leave. But the as it relates to dispensaries, a couple of quick things. One, every single weed shop, for lack of a better word, that you're seeing right now is not licensed. None of them, not a single one. All of those are not operating under the law that was passed. The second point, the first round of dispensary licenses were approved last month by the state. The first round of licenses are 150 there's a priority on folks that have a history of involvement with the criminal justice system, looking to right the wrongs of the war on drugs. So that's the first 150. Then there's another process that's open to the general, to anyone to apply for a dispensary license. That is the process that's going to mirror the state liquor license process. But so far, we in CB11 have not received any. We became aware through the press that there's a location identified in Central Harlem, but nothing in East Harlem as of yet. The first conditional licenses for those with a previous criminal justice involvement, those names and locations are all posted on the state's website and the Office of Cannabis Management website. And as we get notifications, of course, we'll inform everyone. But right now, everything you're seeing, none of that is legal. All of that is illegal. Every single thing you see. That's it. Promise.
Hello. Hi, this is Milsa. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to, before you closed out the last item of ECF, say a comment. I don't know if I could say my comment now after the cannabis. It sort of speaks to what Angel's talking about in terms of process and the cannabis, but it also, the ULURP process, when we vote on it, we expect the developers to follow through on what we voted on. And often, as it's been mentioned, there's a bait and switch with the community. And by the time we find out, we don't know. Angel's going to look into what we can do post-ULURP on a changed application. But I'm wondering if, and I've mentioned this before, if the community board should, as a matter of process, put out a statement somewhere on the website or post-ULURP or pre-ULURP, right? That when a project is going to come across the board and it's voted on and it's changed substantially, that the community board reserves the right to revisit and put out at least a statement to be added to the record, even if it doesn't go anywhere, but it's within our record, so that we can show the community that we did revisit and that we did find exception with this project and we tried to change it. Because oftentimes we talk about things, but if we don't memorialize them, we have no proof to the community that we've actually gone as hard as it is. I don't feel that Jennifer should have gone to SBA to ask about the schools without getting an okay from the community, which is basically the community board who voted on the ULURP. The fact that she thought that that was okay and that we would accept some kind of substitution speaks to the mentality out there and how this community is treated. So what I'm saying is just a simple statement or a resolution or something that comes out that shows that the board is looking at this and reserves the right to change its position, even if it doesn't change the actual ULURP decision or it doesn't change them going forward, but it definitely follows up what we're doing. Thank you. That was all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Nelson. We'll go to Isaac.
Well, I don't know if anybody wants to say anything regarding that before I go back to the cannabis thing. I can wait because I think that was a little more important.
Jason, do you have any comments on Nelson's statement? Okay.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
you hear me? Oh, yeah, no, I'm in full agreement with no, sir. Some of the 2023 goals is going to be talking about substantiating some forms for our developers when they present. And it's just about us continuing to be present and to be active to ensure that our elected officials who legalize these matters also understand how concerning it is when we're reneged upon. Personally, and I said it's not even personally, I mean, it's early to see exactly where they're at and what they're trying to do and what they're in the expression of whether or not they're going to contribute and give us what they're claiming to. I think that alert definitely came in May. But that being said, I definitely agree with no. So we have to be hard pressed and continuous on ensuring that not only this developer, any for-profit entity that comes in to benefit interest within our district is ensuring that they fulfill the commitments being made with community engagement and or givebacks. And I think some strategy needs to be built, not necessarily just with this board, but with all boards across, the 5 boroughs, and that's something where my conversation is going to be next is going to be to the BP's office, because unfortunately they weren't present at the meeting. And I think that was something that was very important that should have happened. So.
Thank you, Jason. And like we mentioned before, we'll continue these conversations in landmarks, land use and planning. We'll go to Isaac and revisit the cannabis item.
Thank you. I just had I'm just thinking about when we get to the point where we're actually, voting on, the licenses for the cannabis shops the same way we do the liquor licenses. And just thinking about all of the community concerns already about open drug use. And, this is not like alcohol. Alcohol has been something that's been legalized for decades, and many people drink publicly and are not ashamed to admit that, right? And then you have a lot of folks on the other spectrum when it comes to weed is very different. This is something that's just become legal and the stigma is still very present. So I guess my question is more of it's broad, is a broad concern about how do we balance that with educating people on the importance of how this will be an economic, a good economic thing for the community, and also what, I don't know, I guess like, because we express certain concerns when people with liquor licenses, like, hey, are people drinking outside the spot? Are you able to take alcohol places and things like that? And I guess I'm wondering in that line, what sort of guides or parameters will we be sort of looking for? Will we, and I know this is a premature question because we haven't gotten to it yet, but I just wanted to just put it out there so we can start thinking about it, because open drug use is a real issue right now. And while weed is legal, many people don't care for it. So I don't, I wouldn't want that to get in, to prevent us from being able to pass licenses where it would actually be beneficial to the community. So I just wanted to put that out there. Not really a question, I guess it's more of a concern and something that I'm hoping we can think about. And so that's it.
Great. Thank you, Isaac. If Angel or Adem, if you have anything to respond to that, feel free.
No, I couldn't agree with him more. Yes, absolutely.
Great. All right, and we will continue that conversation in licenses and permits. Beverly, did you have something you want to say?
Hold on for a minute. I'm so sorry. Let me mute.
No worries. All right, Jason.
Yeah, Chair, I would think that, yeah, I'm
in a
sorry.
minute.
I would just think it's
Hold
good
on,
conversation
for
to
a minute,
continue. Also, at I forget if the committee, Health and Human Services, because I do know that there's a lot of concern in our district when it comes to, drug use regardless of legal or illegal. So I definitely think it's something that we could tackle both on the legalities as well as the social emotional concerns that are present. And like Angel said, I couldn't agree more with the sentiments brought up by Isaac.
Great. Sounds like some cross-committee collaboration about to happen.
Who
All
would have
right.
thunk it?
Who would have thunk? All right, everyone. Are there any last comments about anything that we've talked about? And if we could be mindful not to reiterate anything that was already said, or if we can save it for committee, we can do that. Final thoughts, Angel?
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is not a Christmas. All right, and with that, we will move to our second roll call.
Jose Altamirano,
Present.
Stephanie, excuse, Adem Briha,
Present.
Jessica Elliott,
Present.
David Giordano, John Green.
I agree with Angel, but Die Hard and I'm out.
Don't encourage me. Nilsa Arama,
Present.
Xavier Santiago,
Present.
Isaac Scott,
Present.
Jason Villanueva,
Presente.
and there's
And
an
Mich-
L and an E missing from your name, Michelle Wilcher Clement.
Happy holidays.
David's still here.
Thank you,
We
David.
got you, Dave.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
We
Thank
should
you.
probably have a task force for this building thing, because I think land use will be absorbed by it if we all have to attend. So maybe I don't know, do it as part of executive or something.
Yeah, we can discuss a working group for sure. Let's figure that out at land use, and if there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 7:24. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays, and I'll see